Hello, this is John Kibals, here to discuss current events and other topics of interest while trying to put them in a broader context, as I attempt to explore the universe of human ethics. Today, I want to talk about the growing divergence in beliefs, perspectives, values, and goals among people in modern Western societies and why that is disconcerting. Humanist philosophies in the past provided an opportunity for different peoples with different cultures and different societies who had been kept separate by different religious beliefs as well as by geography and national borders to converge in beliefs, perspectives, values, and goals, which became increasingly necessary for long-term human survival given the advances in the technology of weaponry and of communications. But the elites, the plutocrats, found that such convergence allowed people around the globe, as well as the common people in each nation, to unify and make it more difficult for the plutocrats to subjugate them and prey upon them. So these plutocrats began devising methods to keep the people divided and to create a divergence in beliefs, perspectives, values, and goals. This quest for divergence appears to be the primary motivation behind popularizing the idea that diversity is some sort of absolute good and should be promoted rather than just tolerated for the sake of social harmony. The most dangerous part of this is promoting certain types of diversity in sexual behavior. For example, encouraging homosexual and bisexual behavior and various types of promiscuous behavior, while attacking the idea that there are natural differences between the sexes in terms of behavior, and discouraging the most healthy type of diversity, that which arises from differences in male and female behavior, and undermining long-standing expectations and social norms that people have depended on for millennia in forming dependable and strong relationships. Humans have been evolving over the past few 100,000 years in a direction of increasing differences between the sexes in behavior and abilities, leading to an efficient division of labor, where men hunted and engaged in strenuous physical labor while women gathered fruits, berries, nuts, vegetables, roots, and herbs, as well as took care of the young children. As the division became more extreme, the differences in brain function increased, and the differences in appearance and body type continued to grow, which probably also helped to increase heterosexual sexual attraction, whereby females became more and more distinguishable from males visually, which played into males' focus on visual cues. It is even possible that the development of civilization was facilitated by the extra motivation created by having reached some threshold of male-female differences. Over the course of the development of civilization, not only differences between the sexes in behavior, but also in appearance and in smell were developed and refined, making the sex differences even greater than that provided by nature. And all of this led to more and more productive, harmonious, and efficient societies. In the 20th century, all of this progress toward differentiation of the sexes was halted, as the plutocrats, in order to sow discord and divide the common people, promoted the idea that the gender-based division in labor was not natural and the perceived gender-based differences in quality of life were inextricably tied to that division of labor. And the division of labor needed to be eliminated and the entire structure of Western society needed to be transformed because it had been built by mean-spirited men with the intent of oppressing women. The goal became to treat men and women as the same and to have them engage in the same occupations and tasks and in similar behavior overall, including sexual behavior, with the idea that partnering with someone of the same sex made as much sense as partnering with someone of the opposite sex. But of course, this disregards not just the differences that have been nurtured by civilization, but the natural differences from evolution as well, leading to extremely inefficient outcomes. The far better solution, the more utilitarian solution, would have been to deal with the differences in quality of life directly rather than to overhaul the entire cultural framework. But the plutocrats had no interest in utilitarian outcomes, and they, with their postmodernist and feminist allies, promoted an interpretation of history designed to divide and create mistrust between men and women, as it focused on the harshness that most women faced throughout much of history in much of the world, and on the power that certain men held. But context is everything, and those women who were treated merely as chattel by society had husbands, fathers, brothers, and sons who were treated as beasts of burden or as disposable pawns in wars of conquest. Life was brutal for the great majority. What can be said is that the powerful tend to exploit the weak for their own benefit, and throughout history the great majority of people, male or female, were relatively weak and were abused. The acceptance of the plutocrat-supported interpretation of human history, as promoted and carried forward and further developed by postmodernists and feminists, creates a division that is virtually impossible to overcome, as the real differences that exist mean that men will always be more violent and dangerous, and these negatives will be evident and impossible to ignore. However, the irrebuttable presumption forced upon us that the sexes are the same in ability obscures the superiority of men in a number of critical and vitally important fields, leading to the inescapable conclusion that women have all the positives of men without the negatives, which points toward recommending a societal goal of the elimination of men, which is something that more and more radical feminists support and that most men would never agree to. Add to this growing chasm the pressure on human divergence that the coming revolution in artificial intelligence and robotics will create, along with great advancements in the understanding of human genetics creating the potential for new types of humans, and this social engineering by the plutocrats to create divergence cannot but end in catastrophe, even for the plutocrats themselves.